Hi guys, I am coming to you with some anonymous tea. Welcome and thank you for tuning in. Today we are talking about whether or not it is safe to hold your own standards so authentically and so purely that a man is forced to invest in you before you guys actually take anything to the bedroom and before you get locked down. It doesn't have to be bedroom. It could be either or, either the commitment and or the bedroom, okay? Is it actually safe to take your time and fully vet a man and let him be your dream man before any of these things happen? I think a lot of women will feel this like scarcity of men and this sort of like insecurity. It's not really, just to be clear, a scarcity about men. It's also a scarcity about their own desirability and their own value and sort of like, their own sense of self-validation and their own time, right? Whatever it is. And we'll feel sort of like it's a risk. It's a risk to hold back and let all of the things that would happen in our wonderful dreamland or wonderful dream movie occur, and to truly allow, like fucking receive and allow the man to invest in you before you actually go crazy talking to all your girlfriends about how he's amazing and start tripping up in your head about how you're so in love with him. Okay? Like, okay, yeah, you might be feeling that way hormonally, but like, is he like Prince Charming caliber? I know there's a lot of controversy like around Disney movies and stuff. This is not what we're talking about, okay? We're not here dissecting Disney movies and whether Prince Charming is a worthy analogy or not. What I mean is, you know from when you were a child or just from the purest part of you, you know what actions would just make you melt. You know what actions would just make you feel so secure and so loved and so valued. And like your man gets you and like he's there to love you, okay? Why are you acting like those aren't important? Well, actually, I know why, so I don't have to ask you, but I am asking you to ask yourself. And I guess what we're dissecting, again, is it risky? Is it risky to put yourself through that question of, is he going to step up or is he going to walk away? Is he going to step up or is he going to blow up at me and say I'm a bitch and I'm asking for too much and I'm narcissistic and blah, 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 blah. Like, is he going to think I'm a gold digger? Is he going to think I'm withholding? Is he going to think I'm toxic? Is he going to think that I am using him? That I want my cake and to have it too? Is he going to ghost me for just being too difficult? For just being too much? And like, what if this man that I value so much, like, decides not to be with me based on not being able to get a certain level of access to me as early as he'd like? And that's if he'd like it earlier than I'd like it, for whatever reason. Now, let me tell you why investing in yourself, investing in your own standards in the sense of like holding them and giving yourself that time to see who this person is and if they actually even have the capacity to love you properly is actually the most worthwhile investment you'll ever make, and why doing something like rushing and this is based on your own boundaries, by the way, but blurring any of your own boundaries in order to sort of come towards them or make them happy or give them a reason to stick around or just feel easier, feel more of like a selfless, cool girl person, like just feel not like, maybe you don't want them to think that you are so self-absorbed and self-concerned. Like maybe you want to be like, hey, look, I can try towards a relationship too. Here's my open legs, or like whatever, whatever it is. Or maybe you want to compete with their girlfriends. You see they have a lot of girlfriends and you're like, well, their girlfriends are like really wild. Like, how am I supposed to, like, they have options. Like, why would I be like demure and boring when like their girlfriends are so wild? Like, I gotta give something here. I gotta come towards them, right? And can you just feel in me actually putting that into words? Like, I gotta give something. It's like when you hear it like that, you know that's not the way it's supposed to be. But don't we all, haven't we often felt something like this? I mean, I think maybe some people in this world manage to develop into people that, you know, are very clear on their boundaries from the start. But a lot of us are sort of learning this through tumbling along through life, right? And okay, so let me answer my own question. So it is the investment of giving yourself away too soon, or just, it doesn't even have to be giving yourself away too soon, just not being very secure in your yeses and nos, especially pertaining to the small stuff. It doesn't just have to be the big stuff as far as like whether or not you like commit to them and like get rid of your roster, or like whether or not you have sex with them, or like whether or not you let yourself get engaged when you're not sure, whether or not you date the wrong person. Like those are all the big points, right? But what about the everyday small stuff? What about when they say something you don't like and you like don't know how to address that, so you just kind of like giggle or address it some indirect way, or not at all? Or if like, what if you're on the first date and you're not really liking his vibe or loving some kind of offer you just made, but you hold eye contact anyway? And what that's communicating is you're trying to hide the fact that you're actually not feeling very open to what they just said, but you're trying to pretend that you are. And all that's communicating to them is that actually you're fine with it, and they can like push farther in the same direction and keep pushing in this direction because you don't actually have a line there, and you don't actually value yourself enough to have a line there. So, so when you do this, when you communicate through your energy and your actions towards men that your boundaries aren't your real boundaries, maybe you're not even fully in touch with them, right? That's a whole other personal work journey. But maybe you're communicating that you're more open than you really are to things that you're really not all that open about. And maybe just pretending to be cool in the beginning because something in your brain says, we can take care of this later. Like, I can just like decide that I don't want this anymore later. But for now, we just want to keep everything like pleasant and friendly and conflict free. But all you're doing is you're actually investing in the wrong thing. So you might get the guy, right? You might get that guy that you like really, really wanted to say yes to. You might get the short-term validation. You might get the relationship. You might get the commitment. And you also may not, right? Like in some cases, that might be really painful too. But you might get what you think you want. Absolutely. But guess what? You just signed up for something which would have been a bullet you could have dodged, because now you're in a relationship that consistently feels like this. It's going to keep demanding you to ignore your boundaries. It's going to keep asking for you to keep up the act that you've started out with. So wouldn't you rather be a bitch from the beginning? Not necessarily a bitch, but like, wouldn't you rather be solid in your self-worth and in what your wants, desires, and not wants actually are from the beginning? Because you might push away everybody that doesn't that doesn't understand them and doesn't see them as a positive thing and doesn't want to support them. Everybody that resents them. Everybody that resents them, is that somebody that is going to give you peace long term in a relationship? So you just bought yourself a whole lot of headache. And I understand that sometimes, like, I know that some people say that not being in a relationship is better than being in a bad one. But biologically, doesn't it kind of feel like the opposite sometimes? Sometimes it just feels like, oh my God, like I just need something. I need some kind of relationship be better than nothing, actually. I think it's a lie that being single is better. I think if we're feeling this way, it's because we're not really satisfying ourselves as much as we can and really taking as much responsibility as we can for our lives. I'm not saying we don't need men. I'm not saying we don't need partnership. I'm not saying that wouldn't be super supportive and nurturing to us. I'm saying there's a whole piece where the self-discovery and the self-love and the personal power and all of that is actually really worth developing. And if we don't have that piece, that makes us so much more vulnerable to compromising in our love lives in ways that don't make us happy long term, that make us miserable, not even necessarily because of the guy, but because of what we are not giving ourselves. When we learn to give ourselves certain things and be open to men who treat us honorably and at the standard that we desire and deserve, then it's like two people are honoring you throughout the course of your life, yourself and your partner. So you're getting double the love and double the commitment and the support. So it's actually not a loss to kind of care for yourself a little bit, right? To learn to have boundaries and personal power and passion projects and to satisfy yourself and to give yourself positive experiences. I used to feel ashamed, conflicted and confused really, about the fact that I would enjoy so many of my solo experiences. Because on the one hand, I'm having this wonderful experience and trusting the universe, and it's great, it's wonderful, and it's beautiful. But on the other hand, I would be like, well, they say, that it's embarrassing to be alone. They say that if I'm doing this so much all the time, I must be avoidant. And I did have some avoidant traits, but like the fact that I would carry that and use it to invalidate what I have going for me right now is like not okay. It is like wonderful and beautiful that I could source all of this pleasure from the solo experiences. It's one thing to be closed off to a pleasurable experience with another person, but it's a whole other thing to deny and invalidate yourself solo pleasure, right? To say, oh, this pleasure that I'm having alone counts for nothing. It's not enough. It's not meaningful. Dude, this is your foundation. This is your foundation, is your relationship with yourself. Why would you be embarrassed about building that? Like, please build that, okay? So hopefully you got something out of this. That's all the tea for today. Thank you for tuning in.